favorite group in the next one to talk about, the Detroit Lions at 15, because we had said they had just done so much to address it. This was, the sort of, they used the first round around Frank Ragnow last year. They had signed Rick Wagner a couple of years back. Like, they had invested a lot. They were trying to install this run game for Matthew Stafford, but it just did not work out last season. Frank Ragnow did not look good at guard. He is now at center. I just think there was so much potential for this offensive line, and why didn't it necessarily gel and come together last year? I'm not necessarily sure why.
Yeah, and Ragnow, I think, is one that it's almost a perfect example of the Falcons duo, where I think that will start to pay dividends this year. I mean, his start was horrendous. He had 2 abysmal grades right at the beginning. Obviously playing a new position for him, guard. He moonlighted there before at Arkansas, but he was playing center all the time, basically. Moved to guard as a rookie, disaster to begin with. Started to kind of get his feet underneath him as the season went on. And now I think moving back to center, which is his natural position, you should see an actual good player in year 2, not a first rounder or a guy taken at the top of the draft, and you're wondering, why is this guy not dominating straight off the bat as a rookie? Yeah, so the Lions are interesting. The other interesting team in this group to me is the Los Angeles Rams, because they had the league's #1 run-blocking offensive line last season. They were the reason why the Rams were able to lose Todd Gurley, install C.J. Anderson, and see no drop-off whatsoever. They would be the reason why Darrell Henderson, it looks like Todd Gurley if that happens. But there's more question marks there now. They've lost John Sullivan at center, who was, along with Whitworth, a big reason in turning around what was a terrible offensive line before they got there. And they've now got a couple of question marks at guard as well.
Yeah, losing Roger Saffold, probably the bigger loss there. He had a very good season last year. I don't think that the Sullivan loss is huge, I think it can be mitigated because he was a bit of a liability in pass protection down the stretch there. You could see that he was just sort of at the end of the line there in that regard. But Austin Blythe was also, to me, figured out to some degree in terms of he just couldn't hold up to bull rushes, undersized guard at right guard, and got exposed by Lions, a few other teams down the stretch. Guys who just had, were good bull rushing defensive tackles, just owned him. So the interior of that offensive line, I'm not sure who's going to slot in at left guard, whether it's Bobby Evans or Joseph Noteboom, but whoever it is will not be able to replace Roger Saffold. So the interior, you saw how much interior pressure really affected Jared Goff down the stretch. He did not hold up well when faced with guys in his face, had some of his worst games there when things started falling apart. And then you have to look at Andrew Whitworth at 38 this upcoming season. It has to stop at some point. I mean, he's been elite play. If you just go a tick down from elite play, all of a sudden this offensive line looks far more average and far less imposing than they did for large stretches last season.
Yeah, I think the John Sullivan thing will be felt in terms of experience and sort of communication, line calls, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be felt. Andrew Whitworth is like offensive lineman Tom Brady. You just keep going. At some point, he has to stop playing well. Like, it can't. It's not possible for them to just keep going forever.
I thought it was going to be last season because the last game of the year before against the Falcons, the playoff game, was his lowest graded game in like 6 years.
He dropped down and then came back up.
Right? No.
Yeah, and Brady's done the same thing. It's like every time you start the decline, it's like, oh, this must be the end, and then it isn't. They come back.